Everyone said she'd never walk again. Not without the best doctors, the fanciest therapies, or a miracle. But then he appeared, a single dad, with no money, no fame, just determination. She was the billionaire's daughter, fragile, scared, and misunderstood. And he had nothing to lose, yet somehow everything to give. The mother watched from the sidelines, doubtful, skeptical, afraid that hope was just another heartbreak waiting to happen. But what happened next changed everything. Her daughter's first steps, the mother's tears, and the world would never see her life the same way again. Before the story continues, if you enjoy powerful African stories with deep life lessons, subscribe now. You won't want to miss what happens next. It was a rainy evening when the billionaire mansion seemed colder than ever. Inside, the mother stared at her daughter, Chloe, who had been paralyzed from an accident months ago. Doctors had given up hope, saying nothing short of a miracle could make her walk again. The mother sighed, her eyes filled with despair and helplessness. She had tried everything, the best clinics, the most expensive equipment, therapists flown from overseas, but Chloe's condition barely improved. Then the news came. A single dad from the neighboring town claimed he could help. No one believed him, not even Chloe. Ethan, a hard-working single father, had no medical degree, no hospital connections, and no reputation to boast about. He had only one thing: experience. He had once helped his own child overcome a severe injury that doctors had said was hopeless. Word spread quickly, and curiosity drew the mother to meet him. She found him in a modest workshop filled with homemade rehab tools. He smiled politely, calm and confident, despite his humble surroundings. "I know it's risky," he said, "but I believe your daughter can walk again." The mother hesitated, torn between hope and fear of disappointment. Chloe watched from the corner of the room, her wheelchair resting beside her. She had lost all interest in recovery, after months of failed therapies. Her eyes were hollow, her spirit dimmed by the constant whispers of doctors and nurses. Ethan knelt beside her, speaking gently, not like a doctor, but like someone who truly understood. "I know it hurts," he said softly, "but pain is not the end. You can rise above it." Chloe's lips twitched, the faintest hint of a smile forming. For the first time in months, hope stirred inside her. The mother, however, crossed her arms, skeptical. The first session began with hesitation. Ethan asked Chloe to try moving her toes, small and careful movements. Chloe resisted at first, her body heavy with doubt and fear. But Ethan persisted, patient and unyielding. Hours passed as he coaxed her muscles, guided her arms, and supported her legs. Chloe felt a strange warmth, a spark she hadn't felt in months. By the end of the day, she managed to lift her leg slightly, a small victory, but monumental to her. The mother watched silently, tears threatening to fall, refusing to admit she felt hopeful. Over the next week, Ethan arrived every day, often carrying simple tools, elastic bands, wooden planks, and a small chair. Chloe groaned, cried, and sometimes tried to quit entirely. Yet Ethan never raised his voice, never showed frustration. He spoke of determination, of small steps that lead to big changes. Slowly, her muscles regained strength, and her movements became less awkward, more deliberate. Each tiny progress brought shock and awe to her mother, who had spent fortunes without results. Chloe, despite herself, began to anticipate Ethan's visits. And Ethan, quiet and consistent, found a purpose beyond his own life. One afternoon, Chloe stumbled while trying to stand. She fell hard, tears streaming down her cheeks. The mother rushed forward, scolding Ethan for letting her try. Ethan, calm and steady, caught Chloe before she hit the floor. "Every fall is a step forward," he whispered. The mother shook her head, unsure whether to admire him or scold him. Chloe, however, smiled through her tears, finally understanding Ethan's words. That single smile, fragile but genuine, planted seeds of belief. Weeks turned into a month, and Chloe's recovery astonished everyone. Her wheelchair, once an inseparable part of her life, became less of a necessity. Ethan introduced walking frames, teaching Chloe to bear weight step by step. The mother secretly followed instructions, learning from Ethan, yet never admitting her appreciation. Chloe laughed again, a sound that had been missing from the mansion for too long. Ethan's presence became comforting, a bridge between despair and hope. The household began to change subtly, walls no longer filled with pity, but cautious optimism. Chloe began asking questions, curious about how a man with so little could teach so much. One evening, as the sunset painted the mansion in gold, Chloe took her first shaky steps with Ethan's support. The mother stood behind, stunned into silence. She watched her daughter walk a few meters, stumbling but determined. The sound of Chloe laughing echoed through the mansion halls, a melody of triumph and relief. Ethan smiled, pride evident in his eyes. For Chloe, the world suddenly seemed bigger, brighter, and full of possibilities. The mother's tears threatened again, this time from joy and disbelief. Ethan's methods were unconventional, but the results were undeniable. The media caught wind of the story, calling it a miracle, but the mother refused interviews. She was protective, unwilling to let the world reduce Chloe's journey to mere spectacle. Ethan, however, remained humble, saying only that it was Chloe's courage that healed her. But the mother began noticing subtle changes in her own heart. She felt gratitude, admiration, and something she hadn't expected, trust. She watched Ethan guide Chloe through exercises with patience unmatched by any doctor. Slowly, the wall between her skepticism and belief began to crumble. And with each passing day, Chloe's steps grew more confident. One rainy night, Chloe insisted on trying to walk outside with Ethan. The mother followed, trembling at the thought of failure. Chloe's small feet pressed against wet grass, unsteady but determined. Ethan's hands held hers lightly, giving just enough support. The mother's eyes filled with tears as she watched her daughter move freely for the first time in months. The wind carried Chloe's laughter, a sound she thought she would never hear again. Ethan stepped back, letting her balance independently, cheering quietly when she succeeded. That night, the mansion felt alive again, buzzing with hope and the promise of miracles. The mother began to reflect on Ethan, the single dad who had changed everything. He had no wealth, no connections, and yet he had given them more than all their riches could buy. Respect, trust, and the gift of life's simplest miracle, walking again. Chloe's bond with him grew stronger than anyone had imagined. She sought his guidance, listened to his advice, and laughed at his jokes. The mother realized that Ethan's presence had transformed the entire household. He had become indispensable without demanding recognition. And in that moment, the mother's pride softened into heartfelt gratitude. Chloe's confidence soared, and she began dreaming again. She spoke of school, friends, and future adventures that had seemed impossible months ago. Ethan encouraged her, teaching her resilience and courage alongside physical strength. The mother listened quietly, realizing she had underestimated him all along. He had not only healed her daughter's body, but also her spirit. Chloe's laughter became more frequent, filling corners of the mansion that had been silent for too long. And with every step Chloe took, the mother's admiration for Ethan deepened. She could no longer deny the impact of this humble man in their lives. But not everyone was pleased with the changes. Some of the mother's business associates whispered doubts about Ethan's presence. A man with no background in medicine. How can he be trusted? They murmured. The mother ignored them, focusing on the results she could see with her own eyes. Chloe's progress was undeniable, every step a testament to Ethan's dedication. Yet their skepticism stirred tension, adding pressure to the already fragile situation. The mother had to choose, protect her daughter or appease society. She chose her daughter, no matter the gossip. And Chloe's journey continued, stronger and braver than before. One afternoon, Chloe asked to climb the mansion's stairs. The mother froze, fear gripping her heart. Ethan reassured her, explaining step by step how Chloe could attempt it safely. Chloe gripped the railing, small hands trembling, but her spirit unyielding. Step by step, she ascended, Ethan's voice steady behind her. The mother's tears flowed freely, pride and relief overwhelming her. Chloe reached the top, breathless but triumphant. For the first time, the mother fully embraced the miracle unfolding before her eyes. Ethan continued to challenge Chloe in gentle ways, balancing, stretching, and even small jogs around the mansion garden became part of her daily routine. The mother marveled at Chloe's determination, realizing the importance of resilience over privilege. She had poured money into doctors and equipment, but it was Ethan's heart that had truly healed her child. Chloe's laughter filled hallways, and the mansion seemed lighter, warmer, alive again. The mother's skepticism faded entirely, replaced by admiration and gratitude. And in quiet moments, she watched Ethan guide Chloe, realizing the depth of his patience and skill. This was no ordinary man, and Chloe's life had been changed forever. One evening, Chloe asked Ethan about his life. He spoke of struggles, sacrifices, and the love he had for his own child. His humility struck her mother deeply. The man who had transformed Chloe's life had so little, yet his heart was immense. Chloe listened intently, eyes wide with curiosity and admiration. The mother began to understand that healing was never about wealth or power. It was about heart, patience, and unwavering belief. And Ethan had all three in abundance, more than anyone in the mansion had realized. Chloe's walking became stronger each day. She began to explore corners of the mansion she had never ventured before. The mother watched, a mixture of pride and disbelief etched on her face. She realized Ethan had done what no doctor could. He had restored life and joy. The mansion transformed into a place of laughter and hope. Chloe's spirit blossomed, her confidence surging with each tiny victory. The mother felt emotions she hadn't felt in years, relief, gratitude, and awe. And all of it stemmed from one man's determination to help a child walk again. One rainy afternoon, the mother overheard Chloe and Ethan laughing in the garden. She paused, tears threatening, realizing her child had truly healed, in body and soul. Ethan's methods had been unconventional, his background humble, yet he had achieved the impossible. The mother felt both pride and humility, knowing she had judged him too quickly. Chloe ran toward her, full of joy and life, a sound she had longed to hear. The mother embraced her daughter, feeling the warmth of miracles within reach. Ethan watched quietly, smiling at their reunion, modest as ever. And in that moment, the mother realized her heart had changed as much as her daughter's legs. The mansion slowly returned to normal, but nothing would ever be the same. Chloe's recovery had left a permanent mark, not just on her body, but on everyone around her. The mother often found herself watching Ethan, grateful yet humbled by his presence. She began to understand that wealth and influence could not buy the miracles he had brought. Chloe laughed more, played more, and dreamed more. The mother learned the hardest lesson of all, the value of heart over money. Ethan had given her daughter life again, and the mother knew she would never forget the man who changed everything. One quiet evening, Chloe took a final step without support, smiling triumphantly. The mother cried openly, unable to contain her emotion any longer. Ethan's eyes sparkled with pride, yet he remained humble, whispering, "She did this herself." Chloe hugged him tightly, gratitude overflowing. The mother watched, tears streaming, realizing she had witnessed a true miracle. A single dad, a billionaire's daughter, and a mother who had learned to believe again. The mansion, once silent and cold, now resonated with laughter, hope, and love. And though the journey was far from over, they all knew that life had irrevocably changed in the most beautiful way possible. Days after Chloe took her first unsupported steps, the mansion buzzed with a new energy. The mother could no longer hide her admiration for Ethan, watching him guide her daughter with unwavering patience. Chloe was laughing again, exploring corners she had never imagined possible. Ethan's simple words and steady hands had restored not just her legs, but her spirit. The mother's heart swelled, realizing the magnitude of what had been accomplished. One afternoon, Chloe insisted on running in the mansion garden. The mother froze, panic threatening to take over. Ethan smiled calmly, letting Chloe move freely, ready to catch her if she fell. Chloe sprinted, tiny feet hitting the ground with rhythm and joy. The mother's tears spilled over, a mixture of relief and pride she could no longer hold back. The mother finally spoke to Ethan alone, her voice trembling. "I doubted you. I didn't believe anyone could do this." Ethan shook his head gently, humility in his eyes. "It wasn't me," he said softly. "It was Chloe's courage, and your love that let her fight." Chloe began showing the mother her new abilities with excitement. She climbed stairs, danced, and even tried balancing on one foot. Every achievement brought the mother closer to tears, overwhelmed by the joy she had almost given up on. Ethan encouraged her to celebrate each step, however small it seemed. Chloe's laughter became the soundtrack of the mansion. One evening, the mother watched Chloe paint for the first time in months. Her hands moved gracefully, expressing emotions once trapped in despair. Ethan knelt beside her, guiding without interfering. The mother realized that healing went far beyond walking. Chloe's mind and soul were flourishing. She finally allowed herself to cry, shedding every ounce of past fear. Chloe approached Ethan with a curious smile. "Why did you help me if you didn't have to?" she asked softly. Ethan shrugged, "Because everyone deserves a second chance at life." The mother watched silently, deeply moved. She realized that generosity, heart, and determination outweighed any wealth she had ever known. Word of Chloe's recovery spread beyond the mansion walls. Neighbors whispered in awe, amazed at the little girl's courage and the single dad's devotion. Some doubted at first, but the results were undeniable. The mother no longer cared what others thought. She only cared that her daughter had been given life again. Chloe's first full walk outdoors became a day of celebration. Flowers, sunlight, and gentle winds greeted her small steps. Ethan held her hand lightly, proud but humble. The mother joined them, tears streaming freely, overwhelmed with gratitude. She whispered quietly, "Thank you for giving her life back." One rainy evening, the mother reflected on her own mistakes. She had judged Ethan, doubted him, and relied too heavily on wealth to fix what only love and care could heal. Watching her daughter laugh and run brought clarity. She understood now that miracles often came in unexpected forms. And Ethan had been that miracle all along. Chloe grew more confident each day, her independence shining through. She helped in the mansion, played with friends, and explored new hobbies. The mother watched with pride, knowing the transformation was complete. Ethan remained a quiet guide, always patient, never seeking recognition. Chloe's laughter and spirits were proof of his dedication. One evening, Chloe's mother finally embraced Ethan fully. Tears fell freely as she whispered her gratitude. "You saved more than her legs, you saved our hearts," she said. Ethan smiled humbly. "Chloe did all the hard work. I only showed her the way." The mother finally understood the depth of his gift. Chloe began helping Ethan with small community projects in her neighborhood. She wanted to give back, inspired by the man who had transformed her life. The mother watched, proud of her daughter's courage and generosity. Ethan guided her gently, teaching lessons far beyond therapy. Together, they created a ripple of hope and compassion. The mother realized that the mansion, once cold and distant, had become warm and alive. Chloe's steps echoed through the halls, a constant reminder of resilience. Ethan had not just healed a child, but restored the heart of a family. Gratitude, trust, and love now filled every room. The mansion was no longer just a home. It was a sanctuary of miracles. Chloe, now stronger, ran to her mother one evening, full of joy. The mother fell to her knees, embracing her daughter with tears streaming down her face. Ethan stood quietly, smiling, satisfied with the journey they had shared. It was a moment of triumph, of healing, and of unconditional love. Chloe had walked again, but more importantly, she had learned to live fully. The mother finally allowed herself to cry openly in gratitude. She thanked Ethan, hugged him tightly, and promised to honor his gift. Chloe skipped around them, laughter filling the mansion. The story of the single dad, the billionaire's daughter, and a mother who learned to believe had reached its emotional peak. Life had changed forever, and every tear, every step, every smile had been worth it.